3 years ago today, Russia launched a massive full-scale invasion of Ukraine, hoping to occupy Kyiv in 3 days, hoping to occupy the entire country in 3 weeks. Russia failed. Ukraine still stands 3 years later and is fighting stronger than ever. Today we gather on this anniversary European partners, partners from around the world, to talk about how important it is to stay strong. And we also hosted, as Canada's presiding the G7 this year, we hosted a hybrid G7 meeting to talk about Ukraine, talk about the path forward, talk about defending the rule of law and the rules-based order.
Can you clarify what you meant when you talked about Canada and security guarantees for Ukraine, particularly the boots on the ground? Do you think we should be here after?
First of all, Canada has been part of standing up for Ukraine from the very beginning. And I don't mean from the beginning of this current 3-year occupation and invasion. I mean from 2015 onwards, subsequent to the occupying of Crimea and parts of the Donbass, Canada started training in Ukraine, Ukrainian armed forces, and have made a significant difference. We will continue to look for ways to engage, but the first priority is to make sure that there is a ceasefire and that we set up the conditions for a lasting peace. When we establish the way we're going to keep a lasting peace, I can tell you, I am certain that Canada will be involved, but we're not at that position yet.
This comment seemed like something you didn't think about. You thought long and hard about what they're saying.
Sorry, what's your question?
On the ground, and was it a difficult decision to make this comment on your last trip?
Over the past 9.5 years, I've discovered that one of the most important and difficult decisions any Prime Minister can make is about deploying the men and women of the Canadian Armed Forces. Whether it was our decision to lead the enhanced battle group in Latvia, whether it's the missions we had in northern Iraq, whether it's any deployment of the Canadian Armed Forces, it is something to take very, very seriously. The women and men who serve our country serve to defend not just Canada, but the values that Canada stands for. And being there to defend the principles of democracy, being there to ensure that the forces of chaos that Vladimir Putin is trying to unleash on the world to undermine all of our democracies, there is a role for Canada. What that role will be and how engaged we will be something to determine as things unfold. But it is the easiest thing in the world to continue to say what I have said from the very beginning, which is Canada stands with Ukraine and always will.
I guess it's also relevant about what role the United States will have. They weren't here. The new German Chancellor is already talking about something to replace NATO. That's pretty extreme. What do you think of that?
I think what we did see today, including in the conversation with the President of the United States during the G7, is there is a strong unity around the G7, around knowing that this unjust war needs to end, and about knowing that we have to work on establishing a lasting peace here in Ukraine, where Ukrainians can be sovereign and independent and confident about their future. There are lots of conversations about how best to get there, and those conversations will continue. They were happening during our G7 meeting today. They're happening right now in Washington as President Macron is meeting with Donald Trump. They will continue on Thursday when Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of the UK, is meeting with Donald Trump.
Yeah. After all, why not?
It'll happen next week at the European Council as European members and NATO members gather to talk about the path forward. These conversations are ongoing, but they are happening around one core facet, that Russia cannot succeed in destabilizing the rules that keep us all safe and prosperous, not just in Europe, but all around the world.
Last question.
Prime Minister, it's your last trip to Ukraine as Prime Minister of Canada. Do
you believe yourself, your government has done enough over these last 3 years to help Ukraine find a path?
This is my fifth trip to Ukraine as Prime Minister, my fourth since the war began. And the thing that is clear to me is that Canadians continue to stand strong with Ukraine, and Ukrainians appreciate deeply the unequivocal support that Canada has and will always deliver. The war's not over yet. We will continue to stand with Ukraine until the war is over and until Ukraine wins. It is very much my hope that this war won't last another year, but I know that Canadians will be expecting whoever succeeds me to continue to stand strong in standing up not just for our Ukrainian friends, but again for the values and principles that underpin our democracy and democracies like it around the world. Merci beaucoup à tout le monde.